Welcome back into the Blurred Wire. Today we are going to I've been seeing so many movies lately. I didn't have time to review them all, so I've had to like bust these out like back to back to back. Today we're going to head back to Disney Plus, and we're going to review Ironheart. That was a series that came out, of course, starring Dominique Thorne as Riri Williams. It featured Anthony Ramos playing Parker Robbins, and it came out on Disney Plus. The release strategy on this one was a little interesting. It kind of felt like Disney Plus didn't really trust it to do that well, and it ended up like they didn't. It seemed like they didn't trust it to do that well, so that's why they dropped 3 episodes and then dropped another 3 episodes. And to be honest, I started it and I didn't finish. It got a little weird for me. I'm not like a huge like magic kind of guy, so like it started to go like towards the direction I just couldn't finish it because I lost interest. Once things start getting that way, I just start losing interest. So, but the show started off surprisingly strongly for me personally. I watched the first couple of episodes, and to me, I think what the show, like the MCU does a good job of like connecting people to, connecting different environments and things, but there are so many fictional places. Like Ryan Coogler does a great job of fleshing out the world of Wakanda, but obviously there's nothing for us to relate to it because it's fictional, right? And most of the things that happen in the MCU take place in New York, but New York doesn't really feel like we're connected to it. It just feels like it's kind of where things always happen, right? Things just happen in New York because that's just the way that it goes. New York is just like the big place. It doesn't feel like people are actually being connected there, or it doesn't feel like they made a specific choice to like let's get into the culture of New York because New York is kind of the headquarters for the entire world, right? So there's so many cultures it'd be hard to just like kind of hone in on it. So I say all that to say I think out of all the movies and TV shows that we've seen in different places, like Ant-Man, the whole saga takes place in San Francisco. There's a few places that like the series takes place in different places in the United States, obviously. I think Ironheart did the best job of connecting us to Chicago. And I'm not from Chicago, but a lot of my favorite artists are from Chicago. Lupe Fiasco, that's why I'm wearing the Lupe Fiasco jersey for this one. Lupe Fiasco shirt for this one. Lupe Fiasco, Chance the Rapper, Common, uh, early Kanye West. We'll just leave it at that. A lot of my favorite artists come from Chicago, so I'm always hearing about Chicago on music because that's where most of my favorite artists, like top, my top five rap, my top out of my top 10 rappers, all of them are from Chicago. So or a lot of them are from Chicago. So during the series, the first couple of episodes, it did a great job showing us Riri, where she's from, why she does what she does, why she feels the way that she feels and what she does, and connecting us to Chicago. Like in one scene, there was a song, they had Kick Push 2 by Lupe Fiasco playing in the background. And that one is kind of a deep cut off of his Food and Liquor album, right? And it's one of the bonus tracks. But people that really know Lupe Fiasco and really were supporting him in Chicago, they would know that. Like they didn't just choose one of his hits. You know what I mean? They chose a deep cut Lupe Fiasco song to play in the background. And that really, to me, that's Chicago, right? Like Lupe Fiasco is all Chicago. Like he loves Chicago. He loves the city, he loves the Bulls. And so I think that was a great representation of it. In the show, they went to a Saba concert, and he was doing like kind of a little local pop up show, which again, awesome. Saba's a Chicago artist who's worked with guys like Chance the Rapper and a lot of other artists from that area. And I thought again that was another great way to really bring the Chicago culture. And so that's what I felt like they did a good job of. And I kind of wish they just honed in on that a little bit more, right? Like if we had gotten a chance to really zero in on it. And I think I can't really decide how I would have wanted the show to go as it kept going because I got back into it a little bit and I watched kind of the parts where Ezekiel Stain kind of becomes the villain. And they're trying I think they wanted him to be a lot more nuanced and have some like more details in his character. And again, the main villain is still supposed to be Parker Robbins, aka the Hood, and they end up getting to the end, and suddenly they add in. I think it ended up with. I didn't watch the last episode, but I think it ended up with Mephisto, because I watched some of the reviews on it and how I guess she made a deal. Oh, major spoilers! Major spoiler alert! Major spoiler alert for Ironheart. But I guess it adds Mephisto in, and Ironheart makes a deal with him to bring his sister back. Like I said, didn't watch that part. I didn't get that far. Just read about kind of what happened. Not her sister, her best friend back. Um, and to me, I think between like those three guys, I probably would have. I'm leaning like I probably just would have dropped Mephisto and the Hood, just because to me you had something great with the Chicago culture. And to me, you had a great connection to Tony Stark by having Ezekiel Stane, Obadiah's son, be the villain. And I almost think I would have preferred either a storyline where we don't see him become that villain, like where he finds out either like throughout the series he finds out what really happened to his father, and that's how he ends up becoming a villain, and then that's teased for next time, or something where he's just the main villain the whole time because he knows what happens to his dad, and Riri is trying to stop him, right? Instead of because like I feel like the show morphed into him trying to stop Riri because they wanted a personal connection for him to be mad at her, and I think it would have made a lot more sense if she was just trying to stop him, and and I think it would have been a very grounded connection between Ironheart and Iron Man, right? Because right in the comics there isn't really a connection. I don't think she even meets Tony Stark, but that would have been a great connection as to why like she's building iron suits and stuff. She could have even been working for Stain back, like as an internship or something. Like maybe he started a company up in Chicago and she was working there as an intern or something, and then went to MIT. Something like that, something to kind of ground the storyline and really connect them together and really make sense of like, okay, why is Riri so obsessed with building iron suits, right? And maybe it could have connected well. I just think the way they ended up laying it out, it kind of left a lot of threads open, and a lot of the side, and honestly, like the side characters, like Parker's crew, they didn't really do it for me. I think a couple of them were like Chicago natives and like really big influencers in the Chicago area, so it kind of was cool for Disney to again bring that Chicago culture to life. But just most of them, like I said, his whole crew. To me, you could have had this whole series without his crew. And even like the way they had Riri, kind of not even kind of like just a straight up criminal at the beginning because she doesn't have $1 billion like Tony Stark. It's like I don't. Again, I don't think that should have been the connection or the mention to Tony Stark, right? Like I think if it was Stain and he, inherited shares from Stark Corporation, I think that would have been really interesting too because Tony Stark died. Pepper Potts is still running the company, but Tony Stark still has shares. And when Obadiah Stane died, some of those shares would have went to his son, Ezekiel. So with Tony Stark's death, this could have been all about him trying to take the company back, even from Pepper. Like there was a lot of really cool storylines to use with Ezekiel Stane. And I know a lot of people like, I mean, now I'm kind of feeling like, okay, we want to move away from Tony Stark, right? Like he's done so much in the MCU, but his story ended in Endgame. And so it's like it's time for something else new. It's time to move on. But I mean, they brought Robert Downey Jr. back as Doctor Doom in Endgame and for Secret Wars and Doomsday. So clearly, we're not done with the conversation about Tony Stark. People are still going to keep talking about Tony Stark even into Phase 7 after Phase 6 ends because he kicked it all off. I mean, he kicked it all off. But to me, for this character, for Ironheart, I think it makes a lot more sense to have a more tangible connection because like Spider-Man Far From Home, it was like Tony was in the movie even though he wasn't, because the whole thing, and I think that's where people are like, okay, let's get away from Tony. And so like what they did with Far From Home, that should have been Ironheart, right? And just had it be about Ezekiel Stane trying to get the company back from his father. And I think that makes a lot of sense and works out really well. And maybe he could have even been working with Parker Robbins, the Hood, to try to make that happen, something like that. I don't know if Gwyneth Paltrow would have come back. There's a whole lot of things, but I think that's a very interesting storyline that we could have gotten into, right? And just having Riri being intern for, I think the idea of Zeke like being a hermit now doesn't really make sense to me. It doesn't really make sense to me. I mean, because he's also a genius, right? And I think his character was played really well. I think he was kind of one of the more interesting parts of the show. So I think I would have leaned in more on that direction, and either set him up to be a villain in a small way in a future project, or had him just be the main villain of this entire show. But I know they wanted to go a different direction with, and to me, like all that Hood, Mephisto stuff, like that belongs in Agatha all along. I mean, I don't know. In the comics, I don't know if Parker Robbins hails from Chicago. That would be something I would check out. The only reason why I would have had, because I know when they first chose the Hood, I was a little confused, because I was like, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But if he does originally hail from Chicago, then it would make sense. So I don't. Yeah, so he was a well-known figure in the New York City underworld. So he doesn't even. They just kind of moved him to Chicago, which I mean, I guess again, it's what they wanted to do, but even still, I just think there was a better storyline using Ezekiel Stain. And again, it's a very tangible way to connect all the dots. So that's my 2 cents on Ironheart. I guess she's and the way they portrayed her character, a lot of people don't like. They felt like Disney is now like crapping on Tony Stark because like he had $1 billion, and then it's like, well, he did build this in a cave, and it's like, yeah, it's like I get a lot of that, but like he was still born into like the difference is like Tony Stark it could fail. Like I'm not saying that I don't think they were crapping on Tony Stark as much as people they could have until he got to Iraq, right? Until he was captured by the Ten Rings. He had every opportunity to fail because he was from one of the richest families in America. Like it doesn't matter if he fails. Like sure, I mean his father didn't love him, but it's not like he's never gonna have a place to eat. He's rich. He's born. He's got a safety net on safety net on safety net, right? So he would have been fine. And so like the how he got to that genius point to where he could be able to build the suit in that cave is incredible. But also you can't really say that he didn't do it just by like he got to that point to be that intelligent because he could spend all that time building up that knowledge and stuff because he came from a very wealthy family. And Howard Stark taught him a lot. So, I mean, I don't think it's crapping on Tony Stark. I don't think it was necessary for the story for them to like add that line in there, like, oh, I got to go be a criminal billionaire because the system was rough to me and all that stuff. I don't think that was necessary. I think, like I said, to me, a much more simpler storyline that I would have went into is Ironheart is interning for Ezekiel Stain, and she finds out that he's trying to take over the company with some illegal stuff from the Hood. And maybe Parker Robbins is helping him do some illegal stuff. To me, that's a great storyline right there. And it's an easy connection and it makes everything fall into place. And it keeps Riri Williams as our hero. But I guess they kind of want it to be a little bit more nuanced. But she could even with that storyline, she could have ended up working with them. I don't know. But that's my 2 cents on this whole story. That's my 2 cents on Ironheart, where the MCU is going now. And it's hard to know where are they going to play this storyline out. Like, are they going to do it in either like another season of Ironheart, or where are they going to take that? Like I said, I don't really know how to describe it because it's not something I'm familiar with. So again, just to sum it up, like I really love the connections to Chicago that Ironheart made. And I really think they should have honed that in. And I really think they should have made that a staple of this series, right? So yeah, I think that's it. I think there's just the connection, and I feel like after we got past those first couple episodes, they kind of dropped the connections to Ironheart. I mean, not drop the connections to Chicago, but about the culture and stuff. It was cool how they had a fight scene in a White Castle, but I mean, other than that, it's like, what really did you have? So, thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. Again, this is my review. What did you think about Ironheart, though? Leave your comments below. Let me know your thoughts, and thank you again for joining the Blurred Wire.